Welcome to Inside the Ties with Master Pocketz, where we explore the spiritual and healing aspects of Shibari and BDSM and how they relate to other healing modalities. I'm Master Pocketz, and this is my good friend Avery, who is a shamanic and tantric guide and facilitates safe spaces for others to explore their sensuality within themselves. So Avery, tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and your intentions behind your practice.
So, as you said, I'm Avery. And what I do, so I really love creating spaces for people to dive deeper into their body, as well as exploring their eros, their erotic energy, and tapping into the deepest parts of ourselves that are oftentimes shamed, whether by ourselves, culturally, societally.
Yes.
And I think the key word for me is liberation. I want to live in a world where everybody feels liberated and empowered to be fully expressed within themselves, their sexuality. And I believe that as we do that is how we become more whole, and that's how we cause less harm. Because from shame is when we harm others with the leakage of our energy in unhealthy, unaware ways.
Of course. That, beautiful. And so what got you, what interested you to get into this practice? What inspired you? Everyone has that one day that just kind of changed your life.
Yeah, good question. My journey, so I, for many years, was a sex worker, and I was operating from a place of trauma, so it wasn't very healthy, and it became a wall where I was just like, I need out of this industry, and I'm somebody who, I can't do something I'm not passionate about. I need passion. I need that joy, you know.
We all need that passion, yes.
And so when I first started leaving, I met a shaman, and that was my first introduction into something out of the mainstream, outside of obviously sex work's not mainstream. And from there, I got
now it is.
Yeah, now. Back in my day, we lied. We didn't tell anybody what we did.
Yes, back in the day, no one knew. Now everyone has a fan.
Which I love it. I'm so for that. As long as everyone's not in a place, let's do it from a holistic place.
Yes.
So I got with a shaman and kind of got deep into the esoteric side of things. Began with shamanism, Reiki, tarot, mediumship.
Explain a bit what esoteric means.
Yeah, so esoteric is more of the spiritual aspect. So in my experience, what that created was more of me connecting with spirit, which can mean a variety of things. For me, it's the divine energy, the life force energy that's within each of us.
Yes.
Some people might call it God or, a higher power. And so I started really exploring that world, and that became what I was offering to people, was spaces to explore the spirit, the subconscious, these other aspects of energetic being. And there was then a moment where it felt like I was not empowering that person to understand that I'm not special. I just worked to get to this spot.
Yes.
And it felt a little codependent, where people would come to me thinking I had the answers for them instead of they had the answers. And so from there, I started exploring what's called somatic therapy. It's like expressive art therapy, it's embodiment would be, I guess, a better term for it. Using your body to be expressed, to move, to alchemize, transmute, and clear maybe a pattern that you've been living in to create something new. And when I started exploring that, I got trained in that. And there was a moment then, as I felt more free in my being and more connected to who Avery is, what does Avery love, that I was telling my mentor, I miss sex work. I miss that energy, the sexiness, the dressing up, the more primal energy of sex work. Whereas I feel a lot of times spirituality can feel more light body. And while it's beautiful, we need these dualities.
The dark, the dark, just combine balance.
Exactly. And so she was the first person to introduce me into Tantra and sacred sexuality. She was like, okay, go check this out. And I went to my first ISTA training, so International School of Temple Arts, and that was the first introduction into Neo-Tantra and incorporating that with shamanism and shamanic practices. And from there, it just blew my mind, and I was like, this is it. This is the thing. This is, if we could all have these and experience this, I believe that we can feel whole and free and safe and understand that we're sovereign and empowered in ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, is it safe to say that with your tantric practice and when you practice with others, you are showing others how to embody that energy and that sensuality within themselves, and it is more about a journey that they are going on their own, and you are there just facilitating like this container, this healing space for them to be able to process these things.
Totally. And I think just one thing I want to add to that, it's starting and meeting the person where they're at. So oftentimes people are not yet in a place where they can feel safe to explore sensuality, let alone erotic energy.
Yes.
And so I would then backtrack a little more and be like, okay, let's start with, how do you create safety? How do you regulate your nervous system so that as we explore sensuality, if you become ungrounded, if you feel unsafe, you can bring yourself back into this experience. But yeah, I hold the space. That's why I like to use the word guide. Is that I'm holding the space and I'm helping guide the person, but their body has the wisdom. I can't tell somebody what they need in order, much like I'm sure you resonate with these practices.
No, completely. Yeah, we're going.
It's like you can't tell them what they need, but they can inform. Their body can inform what do they really need. And I think it's this ancient wisdom, the animal body that in Western culture we really shame and deny because we live so in our minds in this culture.
No, I completely understand and see that, and yeah, it is very much like the practice that I hold, where it is a challenge for people to tap into that erotic energy and that just like that space, and I allow people to know that I'm facilitating the space for you, and we get taught that this erotic energy has to always involve two people, but when you can teach someone how to embody it within themselves, then they can come with their partner and create a much more like meaningful and deep experience, which is something we all look for as humans. I feel. So I think it's really important what we both do to allow people to tap into that energy that is societally seen as taboo.
Totally. And that's, I think if somebody has more awareness about what they need intimately, then there's less resistance. I think when somebody's not fully aware of their own needs, we tend to, as humans, then we seek, we're like, well, why are my needs not being met? And rather than like oftentimes us being like, oh, I don't even know what I want. No, instead we go, fuck that guy or fuck that girl. Like they're not
this
good
other
at
person
this.
is not filling this thing that I don't even know about for myself.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's what's so important about the practice that we both have, where a lot of the people that I interact with, it's that they are learning what they like for themselves for the very first time.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, I think I need to like all of this, and I'm like, no, you can like what you like, how you like it. Let's figure that out. Yeah. It's up to you to figure that out with you, and it's also up to you to communicate it with other people, which is one of the big parts of what I do. Is like, you are going to be talking to me, but I need you to be talking to me about the conversation that you are having with you to make sure that we are all having a wonderful experience.
Exactly. Totally.
But yes.
And that's, one thing I want to add, it's like, so with the work I would do with somebody oftentimes, prior to ever getting to even sensuality, safety, all those things, a lot of us are what I like to call emotionally constipated. And, Tantra really looks at this as like moving our life force energy from the root. If you can get the chakra system, moving it from the root up. And in our root is where we hold a lot of what we consider dense emotions, anger, rage, grief, depression, sadness, a lot of things that, especially our culture of Western society, we shame, or we're like, don't feel that bad. That's the word.
This bad is like, it's good and this bad, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, and so a lot of times in a session, it could look like moving somebody through those emotions over and over. Like, I have a session coming up with a client where we're going to be doing a rage ceremony. And so we're going into the rage, and it's like moving the rage, feeling the rage, fully expressing, because when we don't, that's where, as I said, it leaks and it harms people.
Yes.
Then, maybe the cashier looks at you funny and it's like,
yeah,
I don't know if I can curse, but like, fuck you.
Definitely.
And it's like, it had nothing to do with the cashier. It's like,
yes, it has nothing to do. It's more like, because we don't get taught to like process these emotions, and we get taught like there are good emotions and these bad emotions, and you always want to be in the good, and you want to like move as far away from the bad as possible. And it's like, no, we're humans. We're very dynamic beings. No one feels one thing forever.
It's like that idea that people have of like, I should never feel pain again. Like,
Yeah.
well, if I grow, I won't feel pain.
No.
You will always feel pain. You'll just stop fighting the pain.
Yeah, it's learning to, and I feel like BDSM allows people to learn how to like process other kinds of pain in their day-to-day life by going through this kind of discomfort or painful process, because pain is how we grow and learn most about ourselves. We don't do that in comfort.
No.
We don't do that when everything's all good. We enjoy ourselves when things are good, which is, of course, we want to enjoy ourselves, but we want to grow.
Yeah.
And if growth only happens through discomfort, then wouldn't it be smarter to choose to place yourself in that discomfort and be like, I want to tap into my sensual energy, my erotic energy, these rage, anger, like what these emotions inside of me that the world tells me to not necessarily express outwardly, but it's inside of me. How else should I express it? And if not, then I end up expressing it in a non-healthy way.
Totally. And if you don't express it, you're literally you're emotionally constipated with a backlog of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so where are you going to create space to actually feel the passion, feel the pleasure, feel erotic energy? And I think that's why we have so many people, especially, I can speak for people in female bodies who oftentimes have never experienced an orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, because you're not present, you're not current.
Yes.
You are so backlogged of the past and emotions stored up within you.
Yes.
How can you expect yourself to have capacity or space to have that full orgasm?
Because we're still a container.
Yeah.
Like we have to learn to look at ourselves as like everyone has a different limit.
Yeah.
But we all have a limit, an emotional limit, like what we can take in, what we need to process, what we need to get rid of in order to make space for new things. We say it in healing and in astrology and everywhere. We say you need to make space for these new things to come into your life.
Yeah.
Which means we are a container that can only take so much. And if we don't learn how to like regulate these things, and it's like, oh yeah, I got shit in there from years ago. I don't got space for anything new.
Yeah.
That is where that lack of growth, I feel, happens, and people get emotionally constipated because their container is full of shit.
Yeah.
And
I like to look at it as like, and this is just something that I've been working on personally through shadow integration, is looking at it as, rather than I'm getting rid of my rage, because you can never get rid of your rage, getting rid of my sadness, my grief, whatever it is, I'm integrating these emotions so that I will not resist when so it's being current in the flow of the universal energy of what is present, rather than having a story around the emotion, and then we shame or resist or we judge. I shouldn't feel this way. It's like, who fucking says? Like, why shouldn't you feel that way?
What we should be saying is, okay, why am I feeling this way? Like, I have this view that your emotions are simply like they're messages. They're messages from like your inner self that's saying like, okay, this is how we are affected by different things. It's okay to be affected. We're all going to be affected by things differently. Why are we affected by these things? Like, and that's how we can tap into like, okay, maybe I was traumatized as a kid by this one instance that happened, and understanding that, now we're able to understand like when you're getting upset, for an example. Like, okay, obviously this thing would upset me because I have this past, this trauma, but that doesn't mean that I need to respond in a specific way right now. And it's like, the more we can learn about what our feelings are and what they're there to just tell us. They're there to have us know about ourselves. And like, okay, you are responding like this because these things happen, and the body records the trauma. If you do not process it, your body will record it and will hold on to it until you let it out in some way, shape, or form and transmute that energy And I feel that with what we both do, we allow people to take that and just transmute it into something positive and something that can help make them feel good through the bad.
Yeah, totally. And that's the premise of Tantra, is just embracing everything that is, rather than resisting, judging, shaming, or having an idea that it should be different. It's the idea that everything is divine and everything is a gift that's here. And, you know, I've found myself within my own practice at times where I'll literally be moving grief and I'm like bawling. I'm just like, ugh, and the next thing I'm laughing while I'm grieving. And I'm just like having so much pleasure because I'm like, I'm human. I get to feel so many flavors of unique energy and expression. And I think that's a piece of like the tantric path, is finding that the bliss and the pleasure through every expression or iteration of your essence in this lifetime, because it's not ever going to change where pain just goes away or it's just like easy street per se. There's always going to be that challenge to grow for something.
If someone wants to get a session with you, like how does that work? What is like a little basic walkthrough of what a session with Miss Avery would be like?
Yeah, so initially I have a discovery call with somebody so I can assess where they are within their own mind-body connection. What are their limits? What, you know, past trauma, that is really important to me to have a history. I need to understand like what traumas could come up within this, because as you begin moving the body, these things come out. And then a beginning session typically is more about, I don't touch people in the first couple sessions. It's more about them moving their energy, a lot of times I call it cathartic release or emotional regulation, where we move the energy through different somatic like embodiment movements, things like that. And then a couple sessions in, if I find that somebody is able to regulate themselves, they are doing the work outside my sessions with them, that's huge. Please, if you're working with somebody, always do the work outside the session as well.
Yeah, of course. Like,
huge.
That, like, I feel that healing can be, you know, it's good to go to a space where you can facilitate healing and someone can assist you in that healing. But if you're not doing it on your own, then you're putting a lot of work into somebody else that's not really there for
I am not Jesus.
Yes.
I cannot lay hands and heal you.
I'm not a therapist. I don't, you know, but I can hold a safe container. And that's what we do.
And it's that assisting, you know, it's the guidance. And
to be able to do it on your own.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, you go to sleep with you.
Yeah.
You wake up with you. You will eat with you. You were stuck with you for the rest of your life.
I think like that was the biggest, even for myself, was like the realization that nobody's coming to save me. There's no doctors. There's no government. There's nobody. There's no Prince Charming. There's no Princess Charming. Whatever it is, like. Nobody can save you. Nobody can, even if they wanted to, despite all their best efforts, nobody can make your life better by you.
Yes.
People can guide you. They can give you the information. They can give you all the tools. And until you're living it, it's going to hit a superficial cognitive level. But once you start living it, that's where, and the thing is it's not flashy and fancy like we want in the Western culture. We want dramatic, like escape, the golden ticket, you know, the big bang. Versus like it really is an everyday practice. And so once somebody's been working with me for a bit, eventually we do the hands-on body work, which is more so dakini work is what it's considered. If it was a male body, they'd be called a daka. And that is where I am now helping assist moving the emotions through your body. You know, there's specific points in our body where we tend to hold trauma. And when I'm working on somebody's body, we move the energy in those different portions and it can unlock memories. It's a very shamanic process. A lot of times people in it, you know, by the very end, we put you under the veil, you get to go on your own journey. And oftentimes people equate it to going on a very psychedelic journey. So I've had people blast off into other worlds. They'll tell me about journeys they've had or memories they never even remembered from childhood. You know, I've worked on people who will start screaming that are just like, fuck yeah, out of nowhere. It's not about me, so keep working.
I hear that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've had that.
No, it happens a lot in my practice as well, where it causes a release when you move energy through the body. You know, typically like when I'm doing like an impact session or something, and people will be like in this pure like erotic bliss. and then go into like this crying and like releasing like a lot of emotions and they're like not even like this isn't bad, like this is good. Keep going. Keep going. Like I need this. I need to get this out. And it is shamanic work, and like, that's why it's important for us as practitioners of these kind of arts to be able to hold space and just be trauma informed and understanding that everyone has their shit.
Totally. Yeah.
Everyone has their container of shit.
Yeah.
And that some people don't ever want to open it, and like you just gotta like open it and like clean that motherfucker out every once in a while,
And I think that's a key point you hit on, is that not everybody is ready to open it. And that's a big piece for me of why I have discovery calls, because some people aren't ready to do the work with, because when I start with embodiment before getting into the tantric side of things with people, if they're not ready to move their bodies, to express their emotions, to go into that shit, as we say, then there's not much I can do with them, And so for me at that point, like, I'm happy to refer you. I have amazing healers who can help start to unclog those pieces, help you start to be open to something more. That was the beginning of my journey, was the shaman, the Reiki, these areas of like, if I hadn't had those, I don't think I would have ever believed that it was okay for me to go into the other things. But I met so many incredible beings who were brave enough, courageous enough to go into all the different shit for themselves, that it really gave me permission to start doing that. And so, it's a journey with somebody. When I work with somebody, we start from, oftentimes most people who come to me, they couldn't really tell me what it feels like to put their feet on the ground and just even wiggle their toes in the carpet or in the grass. Because when we're living up here, we actually lose sensation. And we don't realize it until we start doing this ecstatic release and movement through our body, that we can feel so much more sensation than we assume or experience through our day-to-day life. So,
Okay, so today you are here to have your first Shibari session. Do you have any questions of me?
Yeah, I would really love to hear just a little of your background. What got you into Shibari? Yeah, what you really love about it as well.
Well, I have been practicing now for 7 years. I got into it about 7 years ago when a prior partner of mine asked me to tie them up as a means to add some spice into our relationship. And my response was, hell no, I am not into any of this bondage shit. Word for word. I was under the impression that in order to practice it, it had to be really like hardcore, intense, and sexual. And it wasn't really anything I was interested in doing and practicing in that way. I'm considered more of a soft She informed me that there was a person in town who was practicing and she wanted to go and check it out and get tied up. So I was like, of course, babe, let's go check this out. I'm like, let's go get you tied up. We arrived at this beautiful Brooklyn loft, and that's where I'm from. I'm from New York City. And this night essentially changed my entire life. Mm-hmm. I walked in, and there's a man tying a woman up at the end in a makeshift stage. One, this man was black, which was a huge representation for me, because I, until that point, had only seen Caucasian and Asian people practice. So it was very good representation for me. But the second thing was that all the lights were off, and there were just black lights lit all over the place. And he was tying her up in ropes that were all UV reactive, so they were the brightest things in the room. Now, he's not tying her in any uncomfortable position or any, like, her hands weren't even behind her back. Mm-hmm. He was just placing rope on her. It was like watching a body painter just place his art. So it was very sensual, it was very soft. And I just fell in love with it. And I watched the entire thing. And when he was done tying her, he placed her down on like this massage table and proceeded to get a flogger. You know what a flogger is?
Can you explain? I know it's like a form of the whip, so if you would explain a little deeper about.
So this is a flogger, And it's an impact play tool that a lot of people like to use for, to get beat. So he whips one of these out, and immediately I'm like, oh my God, why does he have to hit her? This was all so nice and so pretty, and now he has to hit her. Which is hilarious in hindsight, given what I do now for a profession. But what he does is he takes his flogger, he dips it into a can of UV paint, and then uses it as a brush to paint her entire body.
Oh wow!
And he would hit her, but it would be more like a, and then letting the flogger slide so you can see the marks that it did. It was very sensual. It was very visual. It was erotic, but it wasn't this uncomfortable. We weren't watching a sex scene.
Yeah.
It was performative. It was creative. It was beautiful. And after he was done, I asked him what this wonderful kung fu that he was practicing was. And he let me know it's Shibari. And it is the Japanese art of bondage, and he just has a specific intention and approach. And if it was something that I wanted to get into, to understand what my intention was, make sure that my energy matched, and those that are looking for that energy will come in my path. The very next day, I went out to a sex store and bought some rope, which I do not recommend to anyone. I went out to a park and turned on YouTube, which I also do not recommend to anyone. And I went to photography school to learn how to do that professionally, which I do recommend to most people. And I have not stopped tying ever since. I've tied with hundreds of people all over the country, men, women, and everything in between. Pregnant, disabled, I can never be tied up. I'm 73, 75. We can do that. And my intention has always been about cultivating a space for someone to experience something for themselves. So while a lot of people look at bondage where it's like this one person, a rigger, the person who ties, dominating this bunny, the person who likes to be tied, I don't dominate the person on time. I take their energy, their desires, their wants, their needs, and facilitate an experience based on that while removing all personal desires and all of my personal desires and needs from that session. It's a practice called Muganawa. It combines a Buddhist practice with the Shibari practice. And Muga stands for detachment, and Nawa stands for rope. And it just it's a practice of there is still connection because this is something that there are two people going into a very vulnerable practice. But my biggest intention and what I would like for you to keep in mind is that today's session is about you. It is about how you are going to interact with this rope, how you are going to interact with the other possible things that we're going to do today, and what they mean to you and how much you like them and how you would want to express that moving forward, not just with me, but with your partner, with anybody else that you come into contact with. The way I practice is it's for the self, and I'm there facilitating this experience. I'm making sure that you're safe, I'm making sure that you're held, I'm making sure that you're heard, but I'm not here to do what I want to do to you. And it is mainly based on your intention, what you want to feel, what you want to experience. And that is my favorite part and what kind of fulfills me the most. Everyone asks, what do you get out of it if you're just giving people, what they want? And the fulfillment of allowing someone to see, wow, that can be experienced completely different. And that was an experience that I did not think that I would have for my first bondage experience. And making it more about what somebody else wants. Whether it's a first timer or someone who has been practicing BDSM for a long time. I've had people walk in through the door who have practiced BDSM for a long time and ask them, what is your intention? How do you want to feel? And they're like, I've never been asked this question before. Yeah. And that is my intention. And that's what I get out of it, to offer that service to someone and be like, listen, I can practice BDSM safely. It can be an experience that's just for you. There's no erotic undertones, unless you want there to be erotic undertones. It's really based on how you build it.
Yeah.
And I tell people, it's kind of like the Subways. You build your sandwich, you get to eat it.
Yeah. I love that.
And yeah, it's kind of walking people through BDSM and Shibari. I feel society has this perception of BDSM where it's a bunch of people traveling down this really fast highway, right? You got people in supercars flying down this highway. And what happens is that people stop by and they find someone who has never practiced before, and they'll be like, hey, do you want to drive in this really fast car with me? And then you get in and you realize, maybe I don't like driving this fast. You get either mentally or physically traumatized from this experience, and now you never want to drive again. And what I feel should happen with people who are interested in getting into a lifestyle of BDSM is I meet people down at the parking lot and I show them the vehicle that is BDSM. We're going to do that later today. I walk you through your session. And I explain to them what the vehicle is and how fast it can go and how you can hit the brakes.
Yeah.
And this highway that people are driving really fast now, yes, you can drive really fast on it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with driving fast, because I'm a little speedster myself, you know what I mean? But understanding that there are millions of lanes, and to practice BDSM, you don't have to be going extremely fast, and you can find your lane of like, okay, this is what I like in the realm of BDSM, and this is how I would like to practice.
Yeah.
BDSM is about accepting what you like for yourself and being able to share that with others.
Yeah.
And I'm here to allow people to find that out within themselves, which is kind of like how you were saying. Like you facilitate a space for other people to come heal.
Totally.
Sometimes people come and they just want it to be creative. So we just create and we just take pretty pictures and make pretty like content. There's like an idea. Sometimes it's more meditative where somebody wants to have a deeper experience with themselves and kind of not have it be about pictures and just have it be about what they're feeling within that moment, whether they're feeling other things that they want to release or just feeling the things that are happening to them, being more present in that moment. And of course, there are erotic intentions behind rope, which it's not bad. I don't want to make it sound like, we don't look at the erotic aspects of rope. It is definitely there. We just approach it where it's more of a sensual practice. And when added with a sexual practice can definitely heighten things up. But looking at it as a purely sensual practice and as a way to connect with yourself and connect with your body and your sensuality and your own sexuality and like figuring out things that you like for yourself. I personally like to be tied up as much as I'm always tying other people up, and then I'll tell people like I like to get tied up as well, and they're like, okay, like it's a balance. And it's specific energy that I like tying me up. Totally. And it is, it's finding out what that is for yourself. So today's session is mainly based on figuring out why you were here, what you want to feel, your intentions, what you want to feel during your session, what you want to learn about yourself, why you practice BDSM. And my job is to facilitate an experience that will hopefully answer those questions for you.
Awesome, I love that. And I want to clarify, I do have some experience in BDSM, just never Shibari per se. So I've been restrained, I've had different kinks I've explored, but definitely never Shibari. So that's very unique.
Either one, I love to give people these new experiences, whether it is Shibari. Some people have practiced Shibari, but I like to practice with other sensory things like fire, electricity, impact, sensory, things like that. And some people have never been set on fire, never played with electricity, and they're like, I don't know, like that sounds wild. Totally. It sounds wild, but then they'll, I show them like, okay, I get that sounds wild. There is a wild way to do it. There's a wild way to do everything. Exactly. But there's also a very calm, tempered manner. And I am going to show you what that is, and that's what my job is.
Really love your intention with the detached rope. And being detached from the person's experience and giving them their own curated experience. I really love that. I think that that's huge.
I mean, I feel like it's super important for other people to see BDSM as it is a personal journey. I see BDSM as a personal journey, whereas a lot of people say, okay, well, I need someone else in order to practice. Same way you can go home and masturbate.
Yeah, totally.
You could go and play with yourself in different ways and understand like these different ways that you like. You know, 2 out of the 3 people that I show electricity to go out and buy one for themselves because they're like, whoa, I didn't know I could do it like that. And I'm like, yeah, you can do it like that. They're like, how much one of them things cost? And I'm like, Amazon, baby.
Yeah.
Link in bio.
Gotta get that affiliate link.
I really need to get that. But it is just allowing someone to explore these things and safely, and like for someone to be safely in quotations, because there are risks involved into everything. But I am a big believer in informed consent. So I will allow you to see and touch and experience all the things that will happen in the session beforehand while you're active and emotionally neutral, and let you know the risks and what could happen, so that way you can give me an informed yes or no as to whether or not you would like that during your session.
Awesome.
But with all that being said, did that answer?
Perfect. Yeah, that was amazing.
With all that being said, why are you here? What is your intention behind wanting to experience Shibari? Like, what draws you into it?
Yeah. Oh, let me feel for a moment. Just being like really current with what's here for me. So I know a big piece for me that I'm integrating within myself is feeling comfortable and safe within my own power and my own pleasure, and being allowed to be witnessed and seen within that, as well as a deeper surrender and trust. And so I think for me, a big thing is like, I really want to let go. I've used oftentimes my intellect to keep people, things, experiences almost at an art, because it's safer than being vulnerable within your primal body. And so I really want to be able to just let go and be present to whatever does arise, and whether it's joy, bliss, pleasure, rather than I have oftentimes in the past had a fear of being too much or too big or being fully expressed. I want to feel free to just fully be expressed and experienced in whatever is my truth in that moment for that.
Okay, definitely. So how are you looking to feel? Like, well, you have told me that you want to feel, let go, surrender.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing that you want to be in a safe space to express yourself, which I will remind you that you are in a safe space to express all types of things. Trust me, there is nothing you can do up there that will surprise me.
I really believe that.
I'm from New York, baby. I've seen it all.
You've seen it all.
What I mean? Like, and I understand that these things can bring things up for people. So
totally.
Feel free to, express happiness, sadness, anger. Forgot to fart. Do it.
I didn't eat the cheese.
You didn't eat the cheese. But, you may cut the cheese later. For all we know. Who knows? Like, sometimes it may happen. Because this is a mental thing that you're going to, and a physical thing that you're going to.
Right.
And at kind of how you do those discovery calls where you find out where people are in their body.
Yeah.
I find this out more so through the session, because
totally.
We have to figure it out whether or not that connection is there.
Yeah.
But this is a connection between your mind and your body, how much your mind can talk to your body, and how you two can communicate.
Yeah.
Your mind can be ready, and your body may not be. And your body may be like, Avery, I don't know what the fuck you're trying to do right now. You need to chill.
Yeah.
Sometimes the body is ready, and the mind is like, I don't know, I got too much going on. There's too much in my head. I can't sink into this right now.
Totally.
It does have to be both of them connected and like kind of communicating.
Yeah.
Another thing I like to let be known before a session is this is not a whatever we plan out. It's not like, okay, I have to do all of these things.
Ticking it off a list.
You know, like we have
totally.
to tick off all of these things off the list, and if not, I failed. But, the only way to fail is if you just get up and go home right now. Yeah. And if we just don't do anything at all. Mm-hmm. As long as we do and we get started. I have started sessions in the air and ended them on the floor. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll end a little early, so that way they can come back and want more. Yeah. And they just understand that their body said, hey,
we're done.
We're done for today. So please feel safe and free to say like, hey, I'm done. Mm-hmm. You know, can we close this up? Or like, whatever it is, this is your experience. Mm-hmm. And, the more you communicate with me what's going on with your body and what's going on with you, the better I can like facilitate this experience. Because also if you want to come down and you're not telling me, I don't know that you want to come down. So, I do need you to communicate with me and just let me know, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And
cool, I feel very comfortable with that,
safe words are what we use to make sure that everyone, or mainly the submissive, is in control of the session. I personally like to use the stoplight system for my sessions. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, love that.
Just a bit more of an explanation as to the stoplight system. Green means good to go. I like everything that is happening. Yellow can mean that last hit was a little bit too hard, or, that we have reached a level of intensity. And if we pass this level of intensity, I'm going to start to not like it. And yellow just lets me know, okay, tone it down from here. And red meaning completely stop the scene, or don't ever touch me with that thing ever again. And it can just mean I don't like that. And with these words, it allows me to understand the speed in which we're going to be traveling down this highway. Yellow and red just help you pump the brakes, just like when you drive. So with that being said, before we get started, I do like to go through some health questions because this is a physical practice, and I do need to have some questions as to your body. Have you ever had any broken bones?
No.
Any surgeries?
No.
Any bone-related conditions?
No.
Are you on any medication that I need to know about?
I don't think so. I do want to touch really quick on the bone situation. I do have stenosis in my spine. I just want to let you know that. It's in my tailbone.
What is stenosis?
Yeah, so stenosis is essentially I've had the cartilage between my vertebrae near my tailbone is deteriorated. So sometimes my bones just rub together and pinch nerves. So sometimes I get sciatic nerve pain. Okay. Or my gluteal, I can't say it. There's a nerve that goes through your groin. Sometimes gets pinched.
Okay.
But that's about it. And I'm pretty aware of what's going on when that happens.
Okay, and when that happens, just communicate with me and I'll be able to adjust things accordingly during our session. No medication that I need to be aware of.
Yeah.
Are you any mental health concerns that I need to be aware of before getting tied up, such as claustrophobia?
No.
PTSD or anything like that?
Yeah, nothing current.
Are you okay with your hands being tied?
Yeah.
Are you okay with them being tied behind your back?
Yes. Sometimes certain positions, my arms go a little numb. Okay. So I just want to let you know, sometimes like when I sleep on my sides or things like that, I'll get a little bit of numbness.
So numbness is pretty common and pretty normal. Yeah. Okay. It's not anything to be like really like, oh my God. So there's a difference between good pain and bad pain that we're going to learn about. But specifically with the arms, I'm pretty sure you have fallen asleep on your arms, like you said, and woken up and it's been hours. Yeah. And you get that tingly feeling or happens in your foot. Yeah. And you can't walk or you walk funny for a little bit.
Totally.
But it eventually comes back. Your whole hand going numb is not necessarily anything that needs to be like addressed. It does if you don't know what a pinched nerve feels like.
Okay, yeah.
So when a pinched nerve, and you know a pinched nerve, well, you know the bad pinched nerve. Yeah. There's also a way where your nerve can be getting pinched, and you don't necessarily feel it as pain. And what will happen is that only one part of your hand will start going numb.
Okay.
And that means that you now have like a pinch in
So
a specific nerve.
I have had that where like just these two or
Just
these three
those-
have gone before.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is something, if that starts to happen, you want to be a little bit more aware of and just let me know, hey, this is what's happening.
Cool.
Today, specifically, we are not going to do hands behind the back, so there's
Okay.
not going to be a lot of focus on that.
Cool.
But that is something that I do like to let people know.
Cool, yeah.
Are you okay with the possibility of being upside down?
Totally, yeah.
Do you suffer from motion sickness at all?
No.
Do you have sensitive skin?
Not really. I mean, more to like if it was like perfumes or different things like that, but not, touch
Do you
wise.
bruise easily?
Not really. I already have a bunch of bruises anyways from whole class.
Are you okay with the possibility of
Yes, totally.
That's a question that needs to be answered.
Yeah.
Are you on your moon?
No.
Are you
Ovulating, actually. Big time.
I love that that's going to be on the show.
I said I want to feel bliss and pleasure.
Got it. Noted. And are you pregnant?
No.
Are there any particular stretches or parts of your body that you would like pressure on during your session?
Can you elaborate or like clarify that a little deeper?
Like some people like a good like back stretch, or they want like their hips stretched, or their shoulders stretched in a specific way.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I like anything that like decompresses my spine for sure, because I feel like my spine feels a lot of pressure. So like hanging upside down is always great. Anything that opens my heart and my chest, I really like that. So yeah, anything that pulls open feels good. Hips opening, yeah, pretty open to almost any of it. Sounds really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. And trust your intuition too with feeling into what's alive with that.
I already know how to make the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than rope, I do offer other sensory things such as impact, fire, electricity, wax play. I have like vampire gloves and things like that, which are like sensory, like spiky gloves that I can use to like scratch. Are there any other things that you would like to add or incorporate into your session?
I do love sensation play. So, I mean, like, initially I'm just like, I want it all, but...
You can have it all.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, I want it all.
Like, do I need to limit myself?
Yeah, I know, I'm like,
I mean,
okay.
but also no, like you can say like, do you want it all? And like, if we get up there and like you're like,
a lot.
whoa,
Yeah.
please, like it's like you can ask me for whatever, but also I feel more comfortable the more I know that you were able to say no.
Oh yeah, and I'm
know,
good at telling.
Letting
that,
people know like, hey, okay, I've reached my limit.
Totally.
I know I wanted to do ABC, but we only got to B, and that's fine.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not attached to like getting through it all. I'm super just like, as I said, a big intention for me is just being authentic to where I'm at and what I need.
And I've done this before, where you're not the first person that comes in and is like, I want to try everything now. And there's a nice little sampler platter that I like to give people.
Okay.
Where it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So we can do that.
Cool.
Before we do that, though, I will walk you over there and just let you know how electricity works, how fire works, how all of these things work, so that way you can get, like, in case you see something, you're like, okay, I like that, but maybe not today.
Totally. Cool.
Please feel free to let me know, like, and adjust your sandwich.
Cool. I love that. Yeah.
Okay. I can tell your favorite color is red, but that's usually a question.
Me? Red.
What kind of music do you think will help you sink deeper into this experience and allow you to, be fully enveloped?
I think I'm really feeling like what I've been feeling into is like kind of like slow, dark music, if that makes sense. So kind of.
Give me like an artist.
Yeah, that's what I was just trying to tap into one specific. Like, what are they called? Do you know Cryptic Minds?
I don't, but
Okay.
we have Spotify.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm thinking kind of like Cryptic Minds.
They just play their radio.
Yeah.
That's usually how.
Well, we can try that. Yeah, and then I'll communicate is that okay if I'm like, oh, this is.
Yeah.
I can just let you know.
So during your session.
Yeah.
There is no specific way to be during the session. Like some people are like, can I talk to you? Or,
Yeah.
you know, like, am I not allowed to talk or look at you? Like, there are no rules. This is your experience. If you want to sit there and talk to me the entire time, I've done sessions where it's just been a conversation throughout the entirety. While they're up in the air, we're having a conversation and it's just very casual. And, you know, sometimes I've done sessions where someone's on their phone the entire time.
Oh, wow.
Those are the more creative ones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like, you know, they're taking pictures, like, and it's more like, ooh, look at this thing that's happening.
Yeah.
So just feel free to like talk to me if you want to sink deep into the session, which is usually what I prefer people do for themselves. Sink deep, but if you have anything to say during, just please communicate with me.
Okay.
Like, I know we use safe words, but also like you can just communicate with me and just
totally.
Know how you're feeling.
You mean I can be a human and just use words? Crazy.
It's pretty crazy.
Thank you for that permission.
It's pretty like eye-opening experience for a lot of people. So after the session, we're obviously going to sit down and talk about things and like how you felt and things like that. So I need to know what grounds you, what brings you back, because during this session we may experience something called subspace, and it's this like light floaty feeling, which you will be floating actually, so it will be slightly intensified, but it helps ground you and bring you back down. It's not going to be rushed or anything like that, but just something that we can put into practice when you come down to get back into to talking about this session.
Mm-hmm. So I think tea, water, like either being like held or someone kind of like laying on me, like the weight kind of grounds me, and that pressure, I think, like having the pressure in the body.
Yes.
Yeah, I think those are pretty good things. Sitting on the ground rather than up in something. So grounding on the ground. So helpful. On the ground. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I think those are all. If I'm cold, something warm. I might be sweaty though, who knows?
A lot of people experience getting a little bit cold afterwards. And I have a heated blanket for you for if that happens. And we have plenty of water and tea.
Perfect.
And yes, we can definitely be on the floor. And if you need anything, like you need to be held or anything, I will obviously be there. That is also another question that I like to ask people is because people dive into their own experiences and like how that can mean for them can be different. Some people want me there. Mm-hmm. Some people want me more like further away. Mm-hmm. And like they don't want like the physical, like so much physical touch and having it be a little bit more actively detached where regardless of how attached somebody asked me to be, I'm still, it's not me. It is my vessel kind of acting through that. But how much of me do you want incorporated into the session? Like, do you want physical touch, like more like of another person? Yeah. Or do you want it to be more detached?
Yeah, we kind of feel into that.
It's another question I like to ask.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, that's a good question. I think maybe starting more detached, and then I can use my voice if I feel called to wanting more in. I think definitely in the grounding I might want to just maybe lean against. I like to like lean into people
Yeah,
sometimes.
and it's more stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, obviously, like during the session, like if we do impact, like I hit you after a while, I'm gonna like
and
rub
that
you,
please
like, touch you.
Please
And, like,
touch me if you impact me. Don't just let it burn.
There is some there's definitely physical touch
Yeah.
already involved, but it is some people want more of that, and some people want less.
Yeah.
And understanding how people want that approach is important for me to know how to.
And so I appreciate that clarification because I think obviously like impact, any of the things, please, you know what you're doing with that. Like, touch me if you've been impacting me. I'm pretty, I feel pretty open right now. So that's why I think I'm having like a little bit of like, I'm just open to the experience. Perfect. And so that's why I'm feeling kind of open of like, I'm not attached either way. I just want to feel once I'm in the experience of what feels right, if that makes sense.
And you can communicate.
Yeah, exactly.
Throughout this entire experience. And
cool.
If your mind changes.
Yeah, totally.
That is perfectly fine as well.
Cool.
And know that is what keeps you in control. And if that is what makes this such an empowering experience for you, is that you can tell me, there is no expectation of you.
Totally.
It's technically only an expectation of me.
Yeah.
And you are here to just experience.
Yeah.
And please experience and let me know, how that feels for you.
Cool.
So under the intention wheel, I like to call it, and being creative, meditative, and erotic. Today we're going to touch a little bit on all of them. And I'm going to take some pictures of you while you're in the air. This will be very meditative, with, I'd say, erotic undertones.
Totally,
of the experience. Because it is still an erotic experience. It taps into your sensuality. And, it may make you feel things.
Yeah.
It's not me, it's the things, and it's understanding what that means.
Can I share how I kind of see that from like my tantric perspective?
Please, yes.
Okay, because so how I view it, and in my intention experience, it's like I view it as running my own erotic energy within myself, and much like you said, that you're the vessel, so you're the facilitator, and how we view that in shamanism is that you're the hollow bone, the hollow body. So you're here being the channel, the conduit of this container, the ceremony, and then, which means that there's no attachment to Pocketz as the person. So it's like, if eroticism runs up through my body, through myself, it's not me being like, Pocketz did this to me. It's like, this is me for me. And he is here as a channel, a conduit, a divine.
Beautiful.
And this is my experience. So that's how I view it in the tantric aspect. Because like, if I work on somebody, that's what I ask. I say, please run your erotic energy within yourself if it arises. It is not about me. And that I am here as the hollow body, the hollow bone to facilitate and hold. So totally on with that. Yeah.
Beautiful. So you touched on aftercare, like the energy between us, because that's important. Like just kind of, that helps me like set,
totally the container.
The energy. Like sometimes people want me to be more involved, and if I don't ask them that, and I'm completely detached. They can feel like abandoned during the experience. Like,
totally.
Do they not care?
They're like, do I smell bad or something? Why is he staying so away from me? What did I do?
So it is, I don't come into this with any assumptions.
Yeah.
So I have to ask all the questions.
Totally. I appreciate that. I love it.
Thank you for giving me such great answers. So you said you want to try a little bit of everything.
Yes,
so I have to show you a little bit of everything, just to make sure. Usually I like to start with electricity. I start most sessions with electricity because, as shocking as this may be, it allows people to relax the most. It makes you laugh. It can feel very ticklish. It can feel very coursing through your body. It wakes you up.
Cool.
But it kind of really puts you into your body and prepares you, in my opinion, for this physical experience that you're about to have. So I usually like to start with electricity. I personally use a violet wand. A violet wand is an electric play toy. It's not the only electric play toy. You can use other things like tasers and zappers and tension units and stuff.
Glad you're not tasting me.
But I don't have any of those here. I mainly have just the violet wand.
Okay.
And maybe a shock collar, but we'll get to that later. And this device is, I feel like, one of the safest ways to practice electroplay. It's really hard to hurt with the violet wand because the voltage is so low. It is mainly a mental thing because it feels different depending on the different attachments that you use to it.
Cool.
So this has a knob here at the bottom, and we can use it to adjust the amount of electricity going through. And here we have attachments, and these attachments are used to course the electricity through.
Cool.
Glass is the lowest of the conductors, depending on the material of your attachment. It will provide different effects. So to start off, I like to start with glass because it provides the lowest shock.
Okay.
Before I do it on you, I want you to see it.
Ooh.
I know, it sounds crazy. It sounds like a tattoo machine.
It does.
And you got tattoos. You'll be
You're
fine.
fine.
But if you see,
Ooh. It looks so wild.
it's not contact. I am holding it right
and
above,
jumps.
and it jumps and
Okay.
sparks over to me. And it can feel different in different parts of the body. And I run it in different parts so you can get
Cool.
different sensations.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
try. Try that in your hand.
Woo. Oh my gosh. Wow. That's so cool. Okay. Cool.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like that. That's
You like
cool.
that? Perfect.
It does kind of
An
tickle a little bit.
enthusiastic yes. But yeah, it tickles in a way, and like that's why I like to use it to start off.
Yeah.
Now it kind of
And then
gets you out of your mind.
I still feel it
and
almost.
into
Like
your-
the zzz.
Yeah, you'll feel it. It has a slight smell.
I'm
like the
wondering.
electricity.
Yeah.
It's
Normal.
perfectly normal. It's like I said, this is like one of the safest ways to
Cool.
practice. Like you put this anywhere you want.
Anywhere.
Anywhere you
What?
want. So
But what, internally? Or external only?
So there are
Said
internal
anywhere.
ones.
No. Okay.
There are internal
Okay.
attachments. If you would
Wow.
want to have like internal electroplay, it's perfectly safe.
Wow.
Because it's all like it's specific voltages, and we are
Yeah.
the reason we get shocked is because we have electricity flowing through us anyway,
Yeah.
and it is just us responding to that.
Cool.
So a little electricity is not
Gonna
necessarily
hurt, yeah.
harmful.
Cool.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too
Totally.
much of anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
But different attachments will provide different kind of sensations. So
Oh, wow.
this one is like a little bit more of a flogger and has a bit more of like, I would say a jumpier one because so you hear that?
Ooh, that is way different. Oh my god.
Way different.
Way different.
But it's all like it's different intensities
Yeah.
and they obviously feel
Ooh.
very, very different.
Yeah.
But it is completely safe.
Cool. I like
for
it.
Because I've
Yeah.
done this on max, some of the most intense things and on people, and
The fun.
they're just like, okay, and I'm like, wow. That just lets me know, as the human body can take this.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's all the rest of it is all mental. And
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Whoa.
Well,
Of course.
especially, I like that you're showing because as much as you tell me it's going to be different,
Mhm.
until I felt it, like I couldn't logically wrap my mind around, okay, different
Exactly.
how? Like,
And I'd rather, like right now, I'm going to show you 2 more ways,
okay.
and I'd rather get your response now
Yeah.
if you see something that you don't like,
Yeah,
as opposed to finding out while you're up there.
totally.
And now you had, it was fine until that other thing happened, and I didn't really like that.
Yeah.
If I know this beforehand, hence why we're getting
Yeah.
informed consent now.
Yes.
If I know this beforehand, then I'm able to tailor the session specifically
Totally.
to make sure that you have a good experience.
Cool.
Metal is obviously one of the more intense ones. I usually use this in conjunction with my conductive ropes.
Oh.
These are jute rope that have a little metal
Oh, wow, yeah.
running through them.
Interesting.
And when you
Oh, wow.
shock the rope. Now, if you're wearing this rope, as you see,
Who goes through it?
courses through the rope.
Whoa.
If you're tied with this, it will make the area that you're tied kind of like
shock,
and you feel it kind of gonna spread out a
Wow.
little bit more.
That's
That
cool.
you would have to be tied for to give you the full experience of that
Totally.
one, but that's usually something that I leave for more.
Yeah, later on.
But on the skin, it can be used. I usually leave it a lot lower. And
Woo! That was a lot more intense. I like it though. Oh, it's so intense. I like it.
so metal is one of the definitely more intense.
Wow. And so then you
ways
said
to-
you kept that on a lower.
That was on the lowest.
Wow. Okay.
So that can be extremely like brought up to max.
Wow.
And have a different effect. Now the last one is one of my favorite ways to play with electricity. And 10 points if you can tell me what I did with this.
My mind is going to you and searching it somewhere.
People's minds.
I was like,
no, it is a body contact
Like, no.
cable. And what I do is hold it. Or make sure that it has some kind of contact with my body at all times.
Oh, so then when you're the conduit.
Now it turns me into a conduit.
Oh.
Now,
Woo! What? That's so cool. What? How cool.
so now I can use it where I electrify myself and I can touch you and like
Yeah.
like that. Or you hold it, and when you hold it and you become the
What's
conductor,
gonna happen?
I'm gonna explain this to you right before. So if we have anything metal will now be intensified. So I like to start off with this. This is a Wartenberg wheel,
Okay.
and it's a pretty common like scene in BDSM. And I'm gonna show you what it feels like without any electricity.
Cool. Chill. It's
And
not gonna
then
be
I'm
chill, I
gonna-
feel like.
It's gonna be chill.
Okay.
And this is it
Woo!
with some electricity.
That's crazy.
So you see how it like,
it changed
intensified.
it, yeah.
Yes, it definitely intensifies.
Completely.
That also in combination with knife play
Okay.
can make it seem like I am slicing your skin open.
Interesting. Okay.
It can have the impression of that without
Yeah.
obviously
Actually doing
the,
that.
the effects,
Yeah.
which I've now seen can have very therapeutic effects to some people
Totally.
who may have had issues with self-harm in the past, and being able to kind of live through that kind of experience
Totally.
without living through that kind of experience
Yeah.
and going through the pain, which is what I feel
Yeah,
some
it's the
people
cathartic release of it. Totally.
what people are in search of,
Yeah.
to be able to find that safely now
Wow.
through BDSM and have a way that you can do that with
How
yourself.
cool. Yeah. Wow, that's really cool.
Actually, you can't do it with yourself.
Because you'd be the conduit.
Because you'd be the conduit.
Yeah.
'Cause you need somebody else to hold the knife.
Yeah. Okay.
Which makes it even safer. It makes it now a fun practice.
Totally.
And, my partner, she loves the knife. And she'll ask me to, you see that sword?
I was looking at the sword. I was like, oh,
That's when knife play gets intense.
Yeah. It's a very
But
long sword.
she'll hold it and she'll like me to spread it across like her stomach.
Wow.
She'll get that kind of release
Wow.
from that.
Really cool.
So that is one of my favorite ways to use the violet wand
Yeah.
and just allow people to experience electricity. Anything else that's metal, when you're a conduit, will have increased effects. So I use these vampire gloves that have spiky tips,
Oh,
and I
wow.
can use them without and with.
Yeah.
And this is one of my most popular items and what I get asked for the most. because it can be very like soft and like scratches,
Well,
or it can be very like
intense.
grab and intense, or I can like
Cool,
even like
yeah.
slice skin open.
Yeah.
Depending on what people are looking into.
Totally.
But electricity works a lot of fun with that. I obviously have like little knife, medium knife, big knife. Depending on your taste and preference, and different nails and things, and these are all meant to be.
And so do you use like the wand like that as well as like during the electricity?
Can be used as like either like passing it through or like pressing it into certain points.
Okay.
So I use it to like massage.
How cool.
Speaking of massagers, I have this Hitachi wand. It is not just a Hitachi wand. Mm-hmm. It is a violet wand, Hitachi wand.
Oh, wow.
So it does conduct electricity. That's why it's here within all the electro toys.
Whoa.
It'd be weird to just have like this random sex toy in the middle of it. Like, all
right,
I get it, but like... but no, this works as both a massager and a conductor.
Okay.
There's a side for just vibrations, and there's a side for conducting it.
Huh.
I can have the electricity be constant, or I can pulse it, kind of like a blender.
Oh wow!
And have it be like that. I usually leave these for after someone is really knows that they like electricity.
Totally.
And then I'm like, okay, do you want to try and practice with this now? And,
cool.
And we can test those realms, and I usually like put it into like
the back.
The back and like different parts, and like I'll have it on max, and then you get little jolts of electricity or like inside the thighs.
Yeah.
Like it is more of just focusing on all your entire body.
Totally.
And I also have a shock collar. The shock collar connects to my phone, and it feels like little punches on your neck.
Interesting. Where does it like shock on the neck? Like the sides then?
Yeah, like right here.
Okay.
And there's like different modes that I can apply to, and just like the violet wand, there's different intensities. Just like this, there's different intensities. It doesn't have to be super. There's lanes to everything, which I've found with a lot of BDSM toys. They do have a spectrum to them. And finding out where you fall in on that spectrum is what we're here to find out.
Totally.
Do you have any questions concerning electricity?
No, I feel like it was really clear. It was really cool to get to experience it and then also feel the different variety and like varying degrees that each will bring when I experience it. So that was a really cool experience. Yes.
And you're cool with practicing all of that?
Yeah.
While you're...
I think the only thing I'd ask is, which I think you're already going to do, I'm just going to vocalize because we talked about communication, is starting at lowest and then working up, of course. Yeah, which I figured is...
Yes.
You said communicate.
Start, so. We're going to start up, we're going to start low.
Cool.
And work my way up. And
perfect.
You may say yellow, you may not.
Yeah.
So it's all...
Totally. Something I've learned about myself within just being in my body is I prefer slowly easing into things. Yeah.
That's what we are here.
I like to be seduced.
You will be.
Yes.
Okay, after that, there's sensory, so I do have these gloves. I have these gloves as well, which are massage gloves, and they vibrate.
Oh, that's cool.
So the tips of them vibrate.
Yeah. And
usually I'll put like a massage glove in one hand and a vampire glove in the other hand.
Yeah.
And give you the experience of a lifetime.
That's amazing.
So that is another option that we have for sensory. Cool. There's obviously wax play. Have you ever done wax play before?
Yes. I've also gotten in trouble for making messes with wax play.
Don't worry, if you want to get a little messy with wax today.
Okay, cool.
Trust me, we've gotten messy in here with wax. I have, so this is something that I will sometimes add to ties, and it's just like a pokey, spiky thing that digs into your skin.
Oh wow.
And allows you to.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I'll do that on a wrap.
Yeah.
Or like something.
Put it somewhere.
Yeah, like I'll do that and then I'll wrap it here.
Yeah.
And it'll just be there. I'll usually put it on like the thigh. Like the inner thigh or something. So it can like really dig deep in there and like get surrounded.
Yeah.
And leaves nice marks. If you're looking for marks, you may get marks.
I'm fine with that.
There's impact play. Have you done impact play before?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever. So. The one that I don't think I've ever experienced is your rod looking thing,
Okay.
the baton.
So I do have this, and I have other things as well, like paddles.
Yeah,
and
I've had it been
canes and
paddled.
stuff. I have paddle and a cane that I'm probably gonna also add into
Okay.
the session.
Cool.
But
And I don't think I've
I
ever.
do a little bit of everything.
I don't think I've ever had an actual cane. I've had what they called them evil sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like these like sticks that they would like flick, and then
Ooh.
it felt like
it's very
pins and
caney.
needles. So that's what I was thinking when you said cane. That's the closest I've
What
ever
I have
had.
is actually a violet one cane.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's conductive, so I usually do that while you're holding the thing. I can
Cool.
cane you, and it's electric spanks.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so then I usually use that to transition out of electricity and into impact play, which is usually
Okay.
what I do afterwards.
Cool. Okay.
So we're gonna do some impact play, and impact play is gonna be the same thing. I'm gonna do a little bit of each one,
Cool.
and I'm gonna start slow, and
Yeah.
then raise the intensity. If you
Do
say
you
yellow,
do
you
the
say yellow.
numbers? So in the past, just so I'm curious about this, in the past when I've had impact play, when someone's first beginning with me, they will get a range of my numbers because like typically 6 to 8 is like the sweet spot. But I know this isn't focused on impact play, so I'm just curious if you ask for numbers or you
Like
just kind
numbers
of
as like to how hard it.
the intensity.
No, that's something usually I talk about with people
Okay.
afterwards because
Okay.
pain is subjective.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
what's a 9 to you
Yeah. Well, so
could
how
be something completely different
totally
to somebody else.
Which, and that's why they do it is like, so they start really soft and they'd be
Yeah.
like, where you at? And then I
Yeah.
might be like, oh, this is a 3. And then when they get to the 7 or 8, I'd be like, okay, now you're at a 7, now you're at an 8. And they know around 8 is like a sweet spot, like not to go, because then you'll hit into somebody's yellow or red. So that's how I've experienced it. And then they know
That's
for me,
genius.
like, okay,
Yeah.
this intensity is her 3, but this is her 8. And these are where I play within these boundaries.
Pretty cool.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, so that's what I was just asking. Yeah, fun. It's good because as you said, everyone's different.
No, yeah. it
So
is.
then that way, the people who are playing with me in different ways would know according to my body.
No, that's a perfect.
And the
way
state
to
for that
be able to
day.
Communicate
Yeah.
with other people. Because that's why I'm saying like everyone's
Yeah.
perception of pain is different.
Different.
Like sometimes I'm like, what's a 2 or 3 to me?
Yeah.
Somebody's like, oh, it's a 9, and I'm like,
okay.
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and it's not judgment. Like, it's me finding out what speed they want to go,
Totally.
and like just because I like to go at a different speed doesn't mean I can't.
Yeah.
You know?
And every
So-
day we're different, you know?
Yeah, and every day we feel different.
Yeah.
You know, like my partner, she loved her and I's 9s
Very different?
are very the same,
Oh, the same, okay.
very much the same. But sometimes she's like, I'm not really in the mood for that, and I
Mhm.
want more of like this.
Yeah,
And understanding what that means within us
totally.
is one of the key points of
Yeah.
BDSM and like what we're here to essentially figure out amongst ourselves. So we're gonna do some of that.
Cool.
We'll do some wax play, and we will do some fire play. So with fire, there are 2 ways that I like to play with fire. There is a fleshing wand, which is a little flame, but it's a little bit more dangerous. And there are fire bubbles, which are a bigger flame, a lot less dangerous, but super flashy. And we're gonna do a little bit of both.
Okay.
I'm gonna start here with the fleshing wand, and then we're gonna move over there, and I'm gonna show you the fire bubbles.
Okay.
So fleshing wand looks like this: a little handle, stick, and you can touch it. Like, feel it? It's like just a little.
Yeah.
Sort of
Oh, like cotton ball guy.
and what I do to set it on fire is take alcohol. Usually I use around 70% isopropyl alcohol.
Okay.
I don't know if I said that word right, but
Mm-hmm.
and I drench the wand in that. Give it a little rinse. And that now with this flame, I can. It is just before I touch
I
it,
was like,
it will burn body hair off.
okay, that's fine.
So that is the one key thing. All your body hair will be burnt off wherever I
I
touch.
don't need to wax then.
But what I do is I run it through. That was very anticlimactic. Please don't stand in front of me.
Well, I was purposely doing it because it's like
Oh, it's too
blown
much?
out.
Oh, okay. So you see how it
Yeah.
I'm on fire.
Oh, yeah.
So I use that to either do trails or do little fire spanks. I can also just direct the heat.
Oh, wow, weird.
Which is a BDSM form of fire breathing, not to be confused with the cool fire breathing that my partner does all the time.
Cool. It's stinky. My hair burning.
So there's hair burning
Yeah.
and that's
Whoa.
kind of the side effect of it. But
Yeah.
other than that, if you want to
Oh,
come
cool.
and you don't feel like shaving,
Yeah. I was also like, cool. I don't need to nair my arms anymore. I'll just have you burn it all off. No.
yeah, you just come in and
Yeah.
get some on fire.
Burn it off me.
But that's flesh and wand, and
Cool.
that is, I just have to be more aware of it because it is alcohol.
Yeah, it gets hot quick.
It gets hot quick.
Yeah.
So that's why I usually have it in one hand, and I'm very like rubbing and brushing it off to make sure that it doesn't burn
Okay.
your skin.
Yeah.
And it just burns your hair.
Cool.
And now let's move over there, and I'm going to show you bubbles.
Cool.
So, fire bubbles are a very big and flashy fire that I like to do. It uses water and soap as a base. So I have this cauldron here that is filled up with water and soap. And what I do to make it flammable, because obviously water and soap is not flammable, is take some butane.
Okay.
And this kind of butane that you use to like fill up a torch. And then I stick this into the water, creating bubbles. Now these bubbles are filled up with, they're made out of water, soap, and the inside of them is butane air. So now when you take some of these bubbles and put a flame to it, you have this flash fire that goes, and given that my hand is wet, it creates this layer where the fire is above that layer, and that is what keeps it from burning the skin. This is a bit safer because it's just water and soap, so it has less of a possibility of anything getting burned. It still does burn body hair, just like the fleshing wand. But because it is bubbles, even if it falls on the ground or gets on like something, it's just water and soap. Some basic fire safety that also pertains to that, given that it burns body hair, it will also burn all hair. So it is good to keep the flames as far away from all hair that you do not want immediately burned off. That being said, I'm gonna get your hand, and I'm gonna put some bubbles on your hand. I'm gonna do some small ones first.
Totally jumped.
Like, if you didn't the first time your hand gets set on fire, like,
You'd be more concerned about my psychology.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay. So I'll do a little bit more.
Okay.
Here, come on, a little bit more.
Whoa.
And you see, you just close your hand and it goes away.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to live off of. It's
Okay.
just in the air. You're literally holding a fireball.
Cool.
It's that because it's not actually like touching you. That's why.
Yeah.
You're not getting burned. And the water is just keeping you safe.
Cool.
So that is another way
Whoa.
that we like to play, and that's why I bought a cauldron so we can do cool scenes like this.
Yeah.
And as you see, the more bubbles that there are, the longer the fire will stay on.
Yeah.
And what it's doing,
Burning it all out.
it's burning it off, and then like look, you can see it travel on top,
Whoa.
burning.
Huh.
See how it's still traveling?
Yeah.
It goes back up. So that being said, we can now get ready for your session.
Cool.
So I will have you stretch, drink some water, use the restroom, and come back here, get dressed, get in whatever you're going to be wearing for the session. I will get the space ready. And do you have any questions of me before we get started with your session?
No, I think that feels really clear. Yeah.
Awesome.
Excited.
And you want to try this as well?
Yeah.
All right. So
Obviously, I want to keep all the hair on my head, but but that's my
You're gonna keep all the hair on your head. Don't you worry
Okay,
about
cool.
that.
Yes.
All right, so go get ready, and I'll see
Awesome.
you in a bit.
Thank you.
I know that what I do to you may seem a bit too wild. Let me take a second to tell you about my style. Not a newbie at this, I've been time for a while. The purpose of this is to fulfill your inner child, help you look inside to spark internal fire. You create the ebb and flow, I'm just here to guide you. I'm here to remind you that the power is inside you. Style of rope I do, call it Muganawa. Muga stands for detachment, Nawa stands for rope. While it can be sexual, we do it for the soul. Do it with the hope that we can do rope for your growth. Create the experience that benefits us both. First we set intention, then we set the pace, making sure to end with happiness upon your face. Don't be in a haste, it's a journey, not a race. Have patience with yourself, for your time you surely waste. Rope can be creative, building different styles. Meditation when you need to calm it down. It can be erotic and still not lead to sex. I find out when you're sensual, it's usually the best. I attest all the rest of this BDSM can have you feeling funny things all up inside your head. The point of it's to teach you, help you understand. Anything you wanna do, you surely can. Takes communication to get a solid yes. Walking you through everything to get informed consent. Tell me your desires, what you'd like to feel. Explore all your senses, experience what's real. Listen to your body, know that it will know when to say the safe word, when to tell me no. My job is to respect you, to know the human body. Close your eyes, I'm your guide. Let's get naughty. All right. How are you feeling?
I feel like a little baby.
You feel like a little baby?
A little baby.
You look like a little baby. You were happy, like a happy baby when you were out there.
Yeah, I just feel really like a lot of joy. And that's a big one for me right now. I'm just feeling like it's interesting because it's joy, but also like peace. I feel like because there was such big expression.
Yes, it was definitely a lot of expression. I loved it. I loved it all. It was like I'm like, I know how you're feeling throughout the entire situation.
Very vocal. Yeah, so yeah, I feel there's a lot of joy, but also like with that peace. That's cool because I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm gonna sleep really well tonight.
You definitely are.
Which I've been having a lot of insomnia, so I'm looking forward to that.
You're gonna sleep like a baby.
Yes. Yeah. It just feels very like freeing and very like liberating. You know, very fully my intention. It's just like, yeah, and it makes me excited to explore like the variety as well. Because then that was one of it was, as I shared, there was a piece where I was like, oh my gosh, this makes me think of how I like fight my own life sometimes. Because it's like, like you can't
like,
do it.
Forces you to like accept, like this is your current situation.
Just breathe, just chill out, or laugh at it, whatever, you know. And yeah, I was like, I'm like, oh wow, like it'd be cool to explore what is a sensual one, what is a more soft or a meditative, like the different flavors.
Yeah, all the different flavors.
And so, yeah, I was like, oh, that's so cool because I could see how it could vary so differently. Yeah, so it made me be like, wow, I definitely would love to explore more experiences and flavors of it. Yeah.
So we're here for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's the best.
What would you say was your like favorite?
That's a good question.
And like, what were you feeling during that?
Yeah. It feels the most challenging. So there's so many like great moments.
Yes.
One,
But you can put multiple.
Okay.
These moments kind of like stood out to me. Like we can go through.
So one of the I really love when I get in that heightened sensitivity where like even when you went to go do the wax. just like your leg touched my side, and I was like, you're like, I'm not even waxing you.
Like,
And I was like,
you're excited. It's like,
I felt your pants. Sensation. And so I love like that experience, because to me, I think like that's one of the deepest things of being human is our sensation and like being able to experience so much sensation. So I think that would be one of my favorites. I think the other was really getting to vocalize my needs and have them met. And so like, you know, okay, I need to come down now. And then like, I'm come down, and you're like, can I be on my side for a moment? Put me on my side. And so that feels very empowering, because I think, you know, a lot of times we're not always met in the regular world, in the muggle world, with like in the muggle world, you know, it's not always received, you know, because people might take it personal, whatever it is. And so it's nice to have like that experience of, hey, I need this. Okay, no problem. Let's do that.
And that's
you
why
know?
we spoke about it, you know, even beforehand of like, hey, we need to come down. Let me know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Totally.
And, you know, it happened where we
Yeah.
got to be, and you're like, hey, can we do C on the ground?
Yeah.
We can do the rest of it on the ground.
And it was cool to like be suspended. That was such a unique experience.
Yeah.
It was funny too, because at first when you pulled me up in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm so high. And then I opened my eyes and I was like, oh, I'm definitely not as high as I thought I was in my mind. But in my mind, I was like, I'm so high.
Yeah,
and then I looked over and I was like, oh, I'm really not as high as I thought it was.
It's like your body acclimating to that brand new experience.
Totally.
And so I definitely you know, usually when people go up for the first time, they're like, whoa.
Where am I?
That's why I like the pulley system, which we will do. We'll do some sessions where I do it manually. But for the first time, I usually like to use that pulley system to make it very like smooth, and then you have a bit more comfort knowing that, oh, if I need to come down, it's just at the click of a button, as opposed to like he needs to like untie me and then, you know, bring me down, and like there's more logistics to that. It's like you're like, can I come down? And I was like, all right, chin to chest, come down, and you know, you're coming down at a steady pace, you know,
rather than super fast.
Yeah, like you're super fast or like a little jerky, because it could be a little jerky sometimes.
Totally.
You know, like, you know, it's just human.
Yeah. We're not a machine.
And we're not a machine.
We're not a machine.
So to have it done by a machine usually gives to that experience.
Totally. Yeah.
So you look like a happy little bunny.
It was super amazing. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It was cool because I wasn't, you know, since I've never done this, especially being suspended, it was really unique to notice it. Like at first when you told me you were gonna like lower my top half, letting it fall down. Yeah. In my mind, I'm like, how is he gonna, like, at first in my mind you just cut through it and I go, bah, and fall back, but it was so smooth, and so that was like, I was like, like I just slowly went down. So
everything is smooth.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, cool, I didn't anticipate.
But I could also just drop it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and I do that for performances.
Totally. Very dramatic.
Yeah, very dramatic. You'll see it when you come see the performance.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so which part would you say was the most challenging?
Yeah, that's a good question. Most challenging. Yeah. I think. Ooh, such a good question. I think just continuing to relax into the rope. So I would, in moments, find myself like maybe I'd had a big like laugh or like reaction to something, and so my body would kind of like tighten, and then remembering like to release, and that the rope would hold me, and that I wasn't just gonna like something wasn't gonna happen. Yeah. So yeah, I think that would be the only thing I could really feel that might have been a challenge, and even so, it wasn't like a challenge. I just remember keep breathing, like come back to the breath.
No, yeah, it's like that part where you like you do have to talk to yourself.
Yeah.
And just kind of, you know, it is not as it's whatever.
Yeah.
Not whatever, but you know, where you can like sink into something, like you have to remind yourself,
to sink in.
Yeah, and it's like the rope's it's gonna hold my body in this position. Yeah.
For your first time, that was, it's usually definitely expected, especially
Totally.
tensing up with the addition of all the other BDSM things.
Yeah.
They do that, so.
Yeah.
But you did wonderfully.
It was so fun.
So what similarities do you see between like the session that you received today and the sessions that you provide with Tantra?
Mhm.
Like these similarities, and obviously there's differences,
Yeah.
but how they both come together as like a spiritual healing practice.
Yeah, that's a good question too. I'd say like the end of feeling really liberated and like free and fully expressed, and
Mhm.
especially like I mentioned, of that deeper sensation,
Mhm.
that's super aligned. I feel like through Tantra, as we get to feel so much deeper and so much more
Yes.
sensation, and through this I felt that. And as I shared, like when you were untying me, just feeling like, well, I feel more expanded than before I'd been tied into the ropes. And I feel that that's very aligned with the Tantra as well. It's just like there's more capacity within my being
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
I feel like with both of those practices, what we do is like we go in and we grab these things that we may be holding on to,
Mm-hmm.
and then we pull them out in some way, shape, or form.
Totally.
And where I do that is like I grab these traumas, these things inside our bodies, and I wrap them up, and then when I let it go,
Yeah.
it is the release, and it's that now being let go
Yeah.
of the body, and that is the intention
And I
behind
think
the rope.
there's the added piece of like when it's being facilitated or held, that you're also being witnessed in that release.
Yes.
And so it's helping, I think, clear any shame of whatever experience you're having. Like even
Yes.
for me, laughing so loud and all the noises, and like through my life has been I've always been a loud person. You never guess, right? Me loud. And so it's very healing to be as loud as I want without somebody shushing me or being like, hey, that's too much, can you do a little less right now? And so I think that's also aligned with the tantric practice of like being fully expressed, and that through that is where we find the ecstatic bliss, the heaven on earth, and we get to become more whole within our being as well, and that acceptance and surrender of it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And my final question.
Yes.
Did today's session meet your intentions, and are you feeling the way that you set out to feel when we began our endeavor?
Yeah, 100%. It was great. It was perfect. And like, yeah, honestly, the fact that I feel like I'm going to sleep really well is just the added bonus.
Yes.
Didn't even have that in the intention. I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Go
Like,
take a nice bath.
Yeah.
And I will see you tomorrow.
yeah.
No, it'll definitely gets you feeling.
Yeah, just there's like such a relaxed. And so, yeah, I totally feel like I'm at every intention, and yeah, it makes me excited to explore more. And also, I'm learning from you. So learn more from you as well, and just continuing to deepen into this world with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for trusting me to do this and just allowing me to facilitate this experience, and just being such a wonderful bunny in my ropes and in my dungeon. And I feel like we gave a very good description as to the combination of BDSM and Tantra, and I'm very excited to get a session from you in the near future, and I will probably get some of that content and put that on the podcast as well.
Beautiful.
But yes, thank you so much, and I look forward to many more experiences with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the first episode of Inside the Ties with Master Pocketz. The intention behind these videos is to show you all a look as to how sessions are navigated negotiated. Episodes will include people from all walks of life to show how everyone is affected by Shibari differently based on intention. If you enjoyed this video, consider donating to my Patreon for the further development of them, as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content, discounts on Zoom lessons, and even one-on-one phone calls with me where you can ask me questions about BDSM. Also, if you're in the Las Vegas area and would like a session where you experience things like you saw in this video, or would like to learn and experience Shibari in whatever way feels comfortable for you, consider booking a session through our website, naughtyexperience.com, where you can customize your experience to be whatever you would like. Any questions, comments, concerns, bitches, gripes, complaints, and death threats can be directed to my Instagram, master.pocketz. Also, make sure to check out Avery's page and hit her up for an experience. I went and got one recently myself, and trust me, you will not regret it. It was probably one of the most insightful meetings of my life. Her info can be found down below. So till next time, love yourself.